There's a certain stillness in the air this morning, a quiet that feels heavier than it should, as if the world is holding its breath just for me. I'm Claire, 42 years old, tucked into the predictable rhythm of suburban life just outside Chicago. My days have always unfolded in neat, orderly patterns. Laundry folded just so, dinners planned a week in advance, the hum of a life that's safe but somehow hollow. My husband Mark is the anchor of it all. At 45, he's a financial consultant who commands every room he enters, his tailored suits fitting him like a second skin, accentuating a sharp jawline that could cut glass. Those piercing blue eyes of his, they don't just look at me, they seem to dissect every thought I've ever hidden. But lately, our evenings are stitched together with long, uncomfortable silences over dinner, the clink of silverware louder than any words we might share. The spontaneity we once had, those stolen moments of laughter or heat, feels like a memory from someone else's marriage. Mark's been pushing me to find something for myself. A passion, he calls it. "Unwind, Claire," he said, his tone firm, almost insistent, as if he already had the answer mapped out. That's how I ended up here, on my way to Willow Creek, an upscale private tennis club I'd never even heard of until last week. I've never been athletic. My idea of exercise is a brisk walk to the mailbox, so the idea of swinging a racket felt as foreign as learning a new language. But Mark wouldn't hear my protests. "It'll be good for you," he pressed, and I couldn't argue with the determination in his voice. So, this morning, I found myself sliding into the passenger seat of his sleek black BMW, the leather cool against my bare legs, the faint, musky scent of his cologne wrapping around me like a ghost of something I can't quite name. He seemed eager, more than I expected, his fingers tapping the steering wheel with an odd rhythm as we drove. "I'll join you later for a doubles match," he promised, his smile tight as he pulled up to the club's glass entrance, the building gleaming like a polished jewel under the morning sun. I nodded, though something about his urgency gnawed at me, a splinter I couldn't quite pull out. Stepping out of the car, I felt the weight of my brand new tennis outfit. A crisp white skirt and polo that still smelled of the store, stiff and unfamiliar against my skin. The racket in my hand might as well have been a medieval weapon for all I knew how to use it. I gripped it tighter, as if that could steady the knot of anxiety twisting in my stomach. Willow Creek's interior was pristine, all polished floors and towering glass walls, the distant thwack of tennis balls echoing through the halls like a heartbeat I couldn't match. I felt out of place, a clumsy intruder in a world of effortless grace. My heart was already racing as I pushed through the heavy glass doors leading to the indoor courts, the cool air inside hitting me like a slap after the warmth of the morning sun. I stepped onto the court, the polished green surface gleaming under the harsh overhead lights, almost blinding in its perfection. The faint smell of rubber and sweat hung in the air, a sharp reminder of how far I was from my comfort zone. My sneakers squeaked against the floor with every hesitant step, the sound echoing in the vast space as if announcing my inadequacy to anyone who might be listening. I scanned the area, clutching my racket like a lifeline, until I spotted a man standing near the net, his posture confident, almost predatory. That had to be Ethan, the instructor Mark had mentioned. He turned as I approached, his dark eyes locking onto mine with an intensity that made my breath catch. He extended a hand, and I took it, his grip firm, lingering just a heartbeat too long, sending an unexpected shiver up my arm. "Claire, right? I'm Ethan. Glad you could join us," he said, his voice deep and smooth, like velvet over steel. Before I could respond, he gestured to 4 other men standing off to the side, their gazes fixed on me with varying degrees of disinterest. "These are some of our regular club members. They'll be joining us for the group warm-up. Meet Jake, Ryan, Caleb, and Derek." Jake, lean and wiry, sported a buzz cut and a stern expression that made me feel like I was being judged. Ryan, broad-shouldered, had a tribal tattoo peeking out from under his sleeve, a dark swirl against his tanned skin. Caleb, with sharp cheekbones and an intense stare, seemed to look right through me, while Derek, the tallest of the bunch, had piercing green eyes that seemed to hold secrets I wasn't sure I wanted to uncover. None of them smiled. None of them spoke beyond a curt nod, and I felt the weight of their silence pressing down on me, making my self-consciousness bloom like a weed. Ethan clapped his hands, the sound sharp and commanding. "All right, let's get moving. Light jog around the court to start." I fell in line behind the others, my sneakers squeaking louder than ever as I tried to match their effortless strides. They moved like a pack, fluid and synchronized, while I stumbled along, already feeling the burn in my legs after just one lap. My breath came in uneven puffs, and I could feel the heat rising to my cheeks, not just from the exertion, but from the embarrassment of being so obviously out of place. Ethan's voice boomed across the court, calling out instructions with an authority that left no room for hesitation. "Keep it tight, stay in rhythm," he barked, and I noticed how the others followed his lead without a flicker of doubt, their movements almost mechanical in their precision. It was unsettling, the way they seemed to orbit around him, like he was the sun and they were caught in his gravity. After the warm-up, my muscles ached in ways I didn't know they could, but Ethan didn't let up. His voice cut through the haze of my exhaustion, pulling me back to the center of the court. "Let's work on your swing, Claire," he said, stepping closer, his presence looming in a way that made the air feel thicker. I nodded, gripping the racket with sweaty palms, trying to focus on the task at hand. But then he moved behind me, so close I could feel the heat radiating from him. His chest brushed against my back as he reached around to adjust my grip, his fingers firm and deliberate, guiding my hands with a precision that felt personal. My breath hitched, caught somewhere between nerves and something I couldn't name. He murmured instructions about posture, his voice low, almost a whisper against my ear, sending a shiver down my spine. "Keep your stance wide, shoulders relaxed," he said, but then his hand slid to my waist, resting there far longer than necessary. The warmth of his touch seeped through the thin fabric of my polo, and I froze, my mind a chaotic swirl of discomfort and a strange, unwelcome curiosity. I didn't know what to do, didn't know how to react. My cheeks burned as I stole a glance at the other men, Jake, Ryan, Caleb, and Derek, standing just a few feet away. Their rackets were lowered, their eyes fixed on us with expressions I couldn't read. Not one of them looked away. Not one of them said a word or stepped in. Their silence felt heavy, almost like they were waiting for something, like they were in on a secret I hadn't been let in on. My embarrassment deepened, a hot flush spreading across my skin, but I didn't pull away. I couldn't. There was this pull, this strange fascination holding me in place, even as every instinct screamed at me to step back, to break the moment. My heart pounded so loud I was sure everyone could hear it, a frantic drumbeat echoing in the stillness of the court. Then, out of the corner of my eye, I caught a glimpse of movement behind the glass partition that separated the court from the viewing area. I turned my head just enough to see, and my heart stopped dead in my chest. It was Mark, my husband. Standing there in his navy blazer, arms crossed over his chest, his face a mask of calm as he watched everything unfold. He saw Ethan's hand on me, saw the way I stood there frozen in hesitation, and yet he didn't move. He didn't storm in, didn't bang on the glass, didn't do anything I expected. Instead, his lips curved into a faint smile, a smile that wasn't angry or hurt, but approving. My stomach twisted, a sickening lurch of confusion and dread. What was happening? Why wasn't he reacting? Why was he looking at me like that, like he'd planned this very moment. Before I could process it, Ethan's touch grew bolder. His hand slid lower, tracing a path that made my skin prickle with a heat I didn't want to acknowledge. And in a moment of reckless abandon, a moment I can't even explain to myself, I leaned into it. I let myself surrender to the pull, betraying Mark right there on the court under the harsh fluorescent lights. My breath came in shallow gasps, guilt and thrill warring inside me as I felt the weight of what I was doing. I glanced at the others again. Jake with his stern jaw, Ryan with that dark ink on his arm, Caleb's piercing gaze, Derek's unreadable stare, and none of them flinched. Their eyes held something heavy, something I couldn't name, like they were part of this, like they'd known all along this was where things were headed. Their stillness, their complicity, made my skin crawl even as my pulse raced. And Mark just stood there, watching. That smile of his, it wasn't just approval, it was something more, something calculated. A realization hit me like a punch to the gut. He wasn't just okay with this. He'd wanted it. He'd orchestrated this entire thing, from pushing me to join the club. My legs tremble as I stumble off the court, the polished green surface blurring beneath my feet. The racket slips from my sweaty palms, clattering to the ground with a hollow thud that seems to echo in the cavernous space. I barely register the sound, my mind still spinning from what just happened, from the way I let myself get caught up in Ethan's touch, from the weight of Mark's gaze burning into me through that glass partition. I shuffle toward the barrier separating the court from the viewing area, my breath ragged, my chest tight with a storm of emotions I can't untangle. Behind me, I hear the faint shuffle of footsteps as Jake, Ryan, Caleb, and Derek disperse without a word, their sneakers scuffing against the floor as they head toward the locker rooms. The silence they leave behind feels suffocating, like the air itself is pressing down on me, heavy with unspoken judgments or secrets I'm not privy to. I glance over my shoulder, catching sight of Ethan lingering near the net. He's wiping down a piece of equipment with a towel, his movements slow and deliberate, but his eyes are on me. There's a glint in them, sharp and hungry, like a predator sizing up its next move. My stomach twists, a mix of unease and something darker, something I don't want to name. I force myself to turn away, pushing through the heavy glass door into the viewing area. The cool air hits my flushed skin like a shock, prickling against the sweat still clinging to my neck and arms. It's a stark contrast to the heat of the court, to the heat of that moment I can't shake from my mind. And there he is, Mark, waiting for me just beyond the threshold. His posture relaxed, almost too casual for the chaos churning inside me. He's still in that navy blazer, arms now at his sides, but there's a faint smirk playing on his lips, a look that sends a shiver down my spine for all the wrong reasons. I open my mouth to speak, to explain, to apologize, anything to break through the wall of guilt and confusion that's building up inside me. My words come out in a stammer, fragmented and weak. Mark, I didn't mean to. I don't know what happened out there, But before I can finish, he cuts me off with a low chuckle, the sound rolling over me like a wave, smooth and unsettling. He steps closer, closing the distance between us in a single, deliberate stride. The familiar scent of his cologne envelops me, musky and sharp, a reminder of countless mornings and quiet nights. But now it feels like a trap, wrapping around me tighter than I can handle. Then, without warning, he pulls me into a tight embrace, his arms strong and unyielding around my frame. I stiffen, caught off guard, my heart pounding against my ribcage as his breath brushes against my ear. His voice is a whisper, low and intimate, sending an involuntary shiver through me. "You did good, Claire. I knew you'd like it." His words hit me like a physical blow, knocking the air from my lungs. I'm stunned, my mind reeling as I try to process what he's saying. He's not angry, not hurt, not even disappointed. He's thrilled. There's a warmth in his tone, a satisfaction that makes my skin crawl, even as it ignites something deep within me, something I'm ashamed to acknowledge. I stand there, frozen in his hold, my thoughts a tangled mess of guilt and confusion. I should be apologizing, begging for forgiveness for what I let happen out there on that court, for the way I leaned into Ethan's touch under the weight of those watching eyes. But instead, there's this dark thrill creeping up inside me, sparked by Mark's approval, by the idea that he wanted this, that he planned for me to feel this rush. It's wrong, I know it is, but it's there, pulsing beneath the shame, a dangerous curiosity I can't quite smother. Mark's hand moves to my hair, his fingers stroking through the damp strands with a possessiveness that makes my breath hitch. His touch is both comforting and confining, like I stand there in the viewing area, Mark's arms still wrapped around me, his words echoing in my mind like a haunting melody I can't shake. You did good, Claire. I knew you'd like it. My heart is a wild drum in my chest, pounding so hard I'm sure he can feel it against him. I pull back just enough to look into his eyes, those piercing blue depths that have always seemed to see right through me. But now, there's something new there, something raw and untamed, a hunger I've never seen in our 15 years of marriage. It's not just approval, it's a deep, primal want, mirroring something stirring inside me, something I've kept buried under layers of routine and restraint. My breath catches as a wave of heat spreads through me, starting from where his hands rest on my back and radiating outward, igniting every nerve. My skin prickles, still damp with sweat from the court, but this warmth is different. It's a fire kindled by realization. I'm not just a piece in whatever game Mark's been playing. I want to be here, to dive into this forbidden dance. My mind flashes back to Ethan's touch, the way his hands guided me with a boldness that should have repelled me, but didn't. I think of the weight of those other gazes, Jake's stern scrutiny, Ryan's quiet intensity, Caleb's piercing stare, Derek's enigmatic silence, watching every move like they were part of some unspoken pact. And Mark, standing behind that glass, not just allowing it, but encouraging it with that calculated smile. I can't deny it anymore. I liked it. I craved the rush, the electric thrill of shattering every rule I've ever clung to, every boundary I've built around myself in this safe, predictable life. My fingers tighten against Mark's blazer as I let that truth settle over me. The guilt that's been clawing at my insides starts to fade, dissolving under a reckless excitement I can't ignore. I imagine what could happen if we returned to Willow Creek, what next time might hold. The thought sends a shiver through me, not of fear, but of anticipation. A dangerous, intoxicating pull toward the unknown. What other lines could I cross? What other parts of myself could I uncover in the shadows of this club, under the weight of those watching eyes? I've spent years folding myself into the neat, tidy box of suburban normalcy, but now, standing here with Mark's breath warm against my ear, I feel that box splintering apart, and I'm not sure I want to piece it back together. Mark pulls back slightly, his hand sliding down to take mine, his grip firm and possessive. His eyes never leave mine as he tilts his head toward the exit. "Let's go," he says, his voice low, carrying a promise I can't quite decipher but feel in my bones. I nod, unable to speak, my throat tight with a mix of nerves and something darker, something eager. As he leads me out of the viewing area, I catch sight of a few club members lingering near the far wall. Their faces are half-shadowed in the dim light, but I feel their attention on us, subtle nods passing between them like silent messages I'm not meant to understand. My pulse quickens again, a reminder of how exposed I've been today, how exposed I might be again. But instead of shrinking under their scrutiny, I straighten my shoulders, a newfound defiance flickering inside me. Let them look. Let them wonder. We step outside into the evening air, and the crispness hits me like a jolt, cutting through the haze of my thoughts. The parking lot stretches out before us, the lights casting long, eerie shadows across the asphalt, turning the familiar into something almost surreal. My sneakers scuff against the ground as we walk toward the car, each step feeling heavier, like I'm leaving behind the woman I was when I arrived this morning. I'm not Claire, the meticulous planner, the cautious wife who colors inside the lines. Not anymore. There's a wildness in me now, unshackled from the mundane life I've known, and it's both terrifying and exhilarating. I glance at Mark beside me, his profile sharp against as I settle into the passenger seat of Mark's sleek BMW. The leather creaks softly beneath me, still holding the faint warmth of the day. The engine hums to life, a low, steady vibration that seems to mirror the restless energy coursing through my veins. Mark pulls out of the Willow Creek parking lot, guiding us onto the quiet suburban streets that lead us home. I stare out the window, watching the houses slip by, each one a perfect little box of normalcy. Manicured lawns, glowing porch lights, lives neatly packaged behind drawn curtains. It's the life I've lived for so long, the one I thought I wanted. But now it feels like a costume that no longer fits. Each passing home is a reminder of what I've stepped away from today. A world of predictability I've traded for something raw, untamed, and dangerously alive. My mind is a whirlwind, replaying every moment from the court like a film I can't pause. I can still feel the ghost of Ethan's touch, the way his hands lingered with a boldness that set my skin on fire, guiding me in ways that went far beyond any tennis lesson. It wasn't just about adjusting my grip or stance. It was a silent invitation, a pull into a forbidden dance that I didn't resist. The memory sends a shiver through me, a heat blooming low in my core, as I recall how I let myself lean into it, how I surrendered to the moment under those harsh lights. Then there's Mark, his presence behind that glass partition, watching with that unsettling, approving gaze. His eyes didn't just see me. They seemed to celebrate what unfolded, as if he'd scripted every second of my unraveling. That look of his, sharp and knowing, is etched into my mind, a silent promise of more to come, a promise that both terrifies and thrills me. I think of the other men too. Jake, with his stern, unyielding stare, Ryan's quiet intensity marked by that dark ink on his arm, Caleb's piercing focus, and Derek's enigmatic silence. Their eyes on me felt like a weight, a judgment, but also something else, something like camaraderie, as if they were all part of this strange, unspoken game I've only just begun to play. Their lack of reaction, their stillness as everything unfolded, wasn't disapproval. It was acceptance, maybe even encouragement. It's a thought that should unsettle me, should make me want to run back to the safety of my old life, but instead, it stirs something deep within me. It's like a drug, this feeling, this rush of being seen, of breaking every rule I've ever held dear. It courses through me, addictive and unrelenting, leaving me hungry for more, for whatever lies beyond the boundaries I've shattered today. I shift in my seat, the fabric of my tennis skirt brushing against my thighs, a reminder of how out of place I felt this morning, how foreign this world seemed when I first stepped onto that court. But now I don't regret a single second of what happened. I don't regret letting myself feel that electric charge, don't regret the way I let go of every inhibition under the weight of those watching eyes. For the first time in years, I feel truly alive, as if I've been asleep all this time, trapped in a haze of routine and restraint, and today was the jolt that woke me up. It's not just about me, either. It's about Mark, about us, about uncovering a side of our marriage I never knew existed, a hidden layer beneath the silences and the mundane. There's a darkness there, a shared hunger that's been lurking beneath the surface, and now that I've glimpsed it, I can't look away. I don't want to. The streetlights cast fleeting shadows across the dashboard, illuminating Mark's profile in sharp, angular lines. His hands grip the steering wheel with a quiet confidence, but there's a tension in his posture, a barely contained energy that I can feel radiating from him. I turn my head to look at him fully, studying the hard set of his jaw, the faint curve of his lips that hints at something predatory, something eager. My heart quickens as I realize this is just the beginning of a new chapter in our lives. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment if you enjoyed this story. This will help us create more engaging stories for you.